Well, what attracted me to that opportunity? I mean, it's pretty simple. It's the United States is basically my home since 13 years after the World Cup '98 in France. We moved over family-wise. We raised our kids here, and so I had always an eye on the development of the game here in the United States. And a lot happened over the last 10 years, obviously with MLS growing, and the youth game is growing all over the place. So there was always an attraction to it, to that maybe a possibility to one day coach the U.S. Well, immediate plans now for the men's team really is for me personally to get an overview on how things are, an overview on the quality of the players, obviously to get to know a lot of people, to get in touch with a lot of coaches, in the soccer environment here. And so it's just really gathering a lot of information over the next couple of weeks and months as quick as possible. And then down the road, really prepare the team towards the World Cup qualifying campaign, which already starts the next year. Well, in my role as a head coach, really the main responsibilities are really taking care of, taking this team hopefully into a very positive campaign towards the World Cup 2014 in Brazil, and obviously to identify the next generation of players, hopefully that comes through from the youth level, the under-20 level, to help the federation in all aspects of the game, whatever it is, if it's youth related, if it's coaching related. But the main focus right now for the next couple of weeks is really the first team, is those exhibition games that are planned now with Mexico, which is a very tight timeline, and then going towards the game against Costa Rica, then at the Home Depot in the beginning of September, and then in Belgium. So it's really kind of just being like a sponge and see how things work here, see where the players at the beginning of a season, especially the players that come from overseas. So it's a lot of work ahead. I mean, playing Mexico is always exciting. I mean, this is the big rival, obviously, in CONCACAF. It's a very, very good team. They did a tremendous job over the last years. They have a strong generation of young players breaking in and really performing well on the highest level. And it's always emotional. When the U.S. meet Mexico, there's always emotions in there. There's a certain tension, a natural tension in the game, and I think it's a great start. Now, do we have enough time to prepare for it properly? Maybe not, but it's okay. We take it as it is, and we hope that we can really field a very strong side. Well, obviously, I mean, every national team coach, has his own way of doing things, has his own kind of ideas, and what I really want to do over the next weeks and months is, to get as much information as possible to understand, the culture that is within the federation there, the resources, the ideas from different people. So it means a lot of talking to different people, obviously to reach out to all the coaches involved here in the American game, MLS coaches, college coaches. I mean, there's a lot of knowledge here in this country, maybe even more knowledge than in a lot of other so-called soccer nations. So I try to get my hands around that and then define it together with the people at US Soccer, what route we want to go. And I think it's a fascinating opportunity that I have, and I can't wait to start. Well, I think it helps me a lot, obviously, having lived here for basically last 13 years. Obviously, it took me a while. It took me probably a couple of years just to understand, your educational system, in the school system, and the priorities that kind of lie within the American culture. But it helps me because I kind of grew up a little bit also with MLS. I kind of was connected with the LA Galaxy in the very beginning of the team, with the development of the Home Depot Center in LA. And then, I met a lot of college coaches all over the place, know most of the professional coaches. So I think I have a pretty good knowledge about how things work here, and this will help me in this new role as the head coach of the U.S. team. Is there more that you need to know? Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's why, once you take over that role, you need to reach out, and you need to communicate with people, and you need to get different ideas from different people, and then you have to define and kind of let it sit a second and define then your own way of doing things. I mean, I think that, having played 3 World Cups, European Championships, I don't know how many Champions League games, and I played in 4 different countries in Europe. I think this all helps, like in every other profession, and the more experience you have with certain things, the more comfortable you are, with a role that carries a lot of responsibility. So, I grew up in a professional game. I was a pro player at the age of 16, and I worked my way through it. And all those things help when you then take a role as a head coach, because your network is there, you know people around the world, you have experienced a lot of different coaches. I mean, I had amazing coaches that I was lucky to work with, from a Arsene Wenger to a Trapattoni to a Menotti and many other coaches. So you learned a lot from all of those individuals, but then you have to define your own way of doing things, and then you have to melt it together with the situation here, the circumstances here in the United States, and I'm very positive that we get a good mixture. Yes, I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of players on the phone over the weekend, obviously not all of them, and that was a good first kind of contact. I told the players that I will get in touch with them from tomorrow on, and hopefully define by Wednesday then our roster for the game against Mexico. I mean, there's a lot of phone calls that you need to get done. It's important that you get an overview right away of where the players are at. Some players in Europe haven't started their season yet. Some have injury issues, so we might not bring over a couple of players that were part of the Gold Cup because they're not there yet. So it's not gonna be easy to put everything together. But I reached out to them, and I'm looking forward to reach the rest of them tomorrow. Well, the initial message is when you contact players the first time, you introduce yourself and you give them a little bit of an idea how you want to do things. But foremost, you ask them how they are doing. So you try to get a feel from their end. So I think it's very important that you always listen to the players, that you get a feeling for their issues that they have, and that gives you a better picture about the person that is behind the player. And that's what I'm trying to do when I reach out to the players. Well, I mean, I'm really, really excited. I'm excited to have that opportunity to move, hopefully, forward a program that is already very strong and solid over the last 2 decades. And living here since 13 years, you could experience the path of soccer in this country, the importance of soccer, and I mean, if you just look back 10 years ago where the game was and where the game is today, starting with MLS, with the youth area, that so much work has been done. And still there's so much kind of potential to grow in more, and being part of that kind of growth, I'm really excited about.